Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gamer Weekly, where we're on a bi-weekly schedule or something. I'm not really sure what we're doing anymore, but thank you so much for listening to the show and always giving a great impression to the people that I have on the show. I have John from Angry Demon Studio. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking for like 30 minutes, so it's like we're just reintroducing ourselves now.
It's a little bit awkward, but I like it.
So, you guys are working on a game called Unforgiving, a Northern Hymn. What is the game?
Well, the game is pretty much all of the stories we heard as children to scare us from going to the lake or going out in the forest alone. All those stories, we made them real in this game called Unforgiving, a Northern Hymn. So it's a first-person horror game in like the Swedish woods. So as a player, you get to see like this is like Swedish woods and some Swedish architecture with like the red cabins with like white. I don't know what to call it. It's like what it's white around the windows and so on. And there's like a lot of things from Sweden.
So, you're because we were talking before, you were saying that the game is very inspired by a lot of the Swedish folklore stuff. And can you explain, like, for some people that haven't heard any of that before, like, explain like what kind of folklore that you're going to be showing in the game?
Well, as you just mentioned, it's like the Swedish folklore and the Swedish like folklore as as folklore in any country is kind of difficult to just pinpoint. Like this is it. That was the first challenge of the game. Actually, it's to find what do we do when there's like 100 different stories out there and they're all official because of word of mouth. These stories have changed over the years, and in the southern parts of Sweden, where I'm from, it differs a lot in comparison to the stories up north. So we actually went with like just a book about Swedish folklore that kind of united all of these stories in one. And they're about, let's see here, do you mind if I pronounce them in Swedish? Because that's actually the only names I know for these guys.
Go for
Uh,
it.
all right. So we have like, for example, Skogsrået, or I think she's called the Holdra in English. As I mentioned before, she is a beautiful woman, and she has a kind of like a bark hole in her back. It's like a hole in a tree in her back. And when you see that hole, you see her true nature. You see who she truly is. But before that, you're very like enthralled, I think it's called. She's very beautiful and very like she lures men out in the woods in some of the stories. There are many different stories, and we have like Näcken, who's the violin player, and he sits like in water. It's sweet water, and he plays the violin, and the stories differs very much there as well. We have trolls and giants, and let's see here, what's it called? Lyktgubben. It's like a light in the marshes, in the swamps. So there's a bunch of different beings in the Swedish folklore. We only picked a few of them, of course, because we can't have all of them. There's like a whole book about this.
It's so for the naked violinist. You said
Yeah.
that most of the game is naked. Are you in fact in the game naked as well?
Oh, no, no, no. The people, the regular people in the game do have clothes. They are decent. Uh, it's the creatures that are naked, pretty much, and that's actually like a thing that I don't know. In It was kind of like an enticing idea in the beginning because we realized they were all naked, but um, like if a character, it's very different if a character is naked versus a character with clothes. Those are very different impressions you make on people. And I remember when the first time I played Outlast. If you are you familiar with Outlast, the game?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the twins? I think they're twins, the brothers at least.
Yeah, the naked ones that are in the like the prison thing.
Oh, exactly. And that just made them so much more terrifying naked. It's like when somebody tells me like, "Hey, you have to sleep in the pajamas. What if somebody breaks into your apartment?" Well, what's scarier, a screaming clothed guy or a screaming naked guy? You know.
It's an old Swedish tradition to.
Oh yeah, being naked and attacking people. That's Viking shit right there.
Man, Sweden's gonna be really interesting if I ever go there someday.
Actually, we're very reserved as a people. It's like we differ a lot now and back in the day when the Vikings, like during the time of the Vikings and all that, we had a very brutal society once upon a time. But now I think we're very like adapted and polite. I'd say.
Is there still like a heavy Viking community in Sweden, or is it just kind of like every now and then maybe you guys bust out the Viking gear or something, or
yeah, we all have the battle axe,
just in case.
Yeah, when we're born, we're handed a battle axe by the government. No, but actually, there's a lot of course, there's like a connection to the Swedish tradition. It's not a very strong connection. I've been to a lot of countries where they have a very much like a stronger connection to their heritage. In Sweden overall, we don't have that. We're very like open to the rest of the world, and a lot of Sweden are very interested in like other cultures and other what to call them, like traditions, so to speak. So the Swedish, I don't know, the Viking thing, it's very rare that there's actually kind of like a like people who name their children like something like older Swedish names like Ragnar and Rune on purpose, like to actually like because of traditions. That's what I was looking for. Most of Sweden is very Christian. I think I can't really remember, but when Christianity came into Sweden and actually just pushed out the old Swedish, like the Nordic mythology with Odin and Thor. Can't really remember what year that was. But it was a long time ago, and as you can tell, I was born here in Sweden, and my name is John, and that's a very Christian name.
So if someone in Sweden is named Thor or Odin, is it kind of like how someone here in the U.S., if you name your kid like Sapphire or something, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of ghetto or something like that, or is it kind of like, or is it normal to see that, or what's it like?
Well, it's not really normal. The Ragnar and Ruth and all the Ruth might be something else, but those kind of names are pretty much our parents and their parents. They had those kinds of names. Most names today is more the Christian way, as I said before. Like I think, for example, John. I can't really think of any other names right now. My brain is just totally shutting down at the moment. But some names are still living. Like I think like Eric. I think that might actually. I haven't done any research on that kind, like the Nordic mythology way of. Like anything. It's just we mostly been doing just research about the Swedish folklore, the stories of the monsters. That's pretty much what we've been doing research about, and everything around that is still a gray area for me.
If anybody
So
has any information on these names, by all means, you can put us in the comments as well. So I've done a little bit of research on Sweden while we were chatting beforehand, before we started recording the episode. So in the game, you said that there's a naked violinist playing music. Did you know that the most popular act in Sweden is Abba? Because I did not.
It is. Abba is like it's famous worldwide. I know there are a few things from Sweden that's that you can see pretty much everywhere. It's like Abba, very, very famous all over the world, and it's actually very funny when you go abroad and you, as a Swede, you're just like, hey, my parents listen to Abba. It's like kind of like an Elvis Presley kind of deal. It's ABBA and Elvis and some other bands from the 60s and 70s. And you just go abroad and they're like, woo, ABBA. and that's just so weird. It's like, just imagine if the music your parents listen to and you're like, oh, that is so old. You're supposed to listen to this. Oh, mom, you're so embarrassing. And you go abroad and all of a sudden everybody listen. There's a lot of people listening to like the kind of music that your parents do. That's kind of weird.
Because I'm imagining now, if I play the game and I see the violinist, you're gonna somehow sneak in like some kind of like ABBA in there, and I feel like, wait a minute. And then
I'm just gonna gather the whole crew and we're gonna patch it. So if you play it, there's gonna be like Dancing Queen coming from the weird naked guy.
That honestly would be very terrifying to hear. Just you're in the dark and all of a sudden you just start hearing that in the distance.
Yeah, that would be terrifying, actually.
Because like it's such a noticeable gap too in like I'm going off of Wikipedia here, so I imagine now that anybody from Sweden, when they are born, you get either you get the Viking battle axe, you get an ABBA record, and then you also get a pack of Swedish fish.
Oh, that's it. That's pretty much it. And then they just throw you out in the streets, and you get to fend for yourself. That's
is this like baby PUBG or something, or like?
Yeah, pretty much. Only the strong survive, and if you're strong enough to survive, you'll get free education.
Oh, nice. That's actually I mean, it's a lot better than what we've got. But yeah, that's pretty good.
Actually, Sweden is actually a very like, all jokes aside, Sweden is actually a very like secure and stable country, and I am super happy to actually be living in this country. There's as I said before, education is free, and I'm also a college student. I just graduated like a couple of months ago. Actually, everyone in Angry Demon Studio graduated college like 5 months ago, pretty much.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. So we all have our bachelor's degree. Whoa, that is such a thing. We should put that in our next game. It should be like everyone in this game has a bachelor's degree. That makes it so much better.
I thought you were gonna say like our next game is gonna be Bachelor Degree Simulator.
Oh, actually, it's gonna be Student Debt Simulator, and that's gonna be terrifying.
Oh no, that is the worst horror game. That's too
right.
real.
Too real, man, right? No, but as I said before, like school is paid for. Also, I'm not really sure what you call it in the States, but when you're from the age 16 to 18, you transfer to another kind of school, and that's also paid for. And we actually went to college as well, and that's also paid for already. So we only come out with a smaller debt, and that debt is pretty much to pay for rent and other things around school. But the actual education itself is free, and that is an amazing thing. I think because I would never have gone to college. I don't have I never had a lot of money. I worked a lot before I started college, so I saved up quite some like a little bit of money, but it would never have been enough to actually pay for it myself. And and actually from the Swedish college, the computer game development college, or a computer game development college, Angry Demon Studio was actually formed. So I am very happy that this exists because without it, I would never have gotten into computer games.
This show is not in any way sponsored by the country of Sweden, but if
Well, I am, sir. I am. No, I'm not. Well, thank you for my college, so now I have to say it. We actually have the king right here in the room. He's pointing a gun at me, and he's like, "Hey, tell him something nice about Sweden, or I'll shoot you."
oh, I didn't realize that Sweden is very much like North Korea. Cool.
Well, it's exactly the same. I meant, oh no. And that was the end of the show.
Oh my god! I've also heard that Sweden is very into like house music too. So that is something else that I'm also bracing for in the game is some Euro dance or some progressive house.
Actually, we had that kind of we had like that was really hilarious. We watched a lot of playthroughs of the game. Um, People playing the game online, like through Twitch and YouTube. That's actually a really as a computer game developer, actually YouTube is one of the main tools of creating better content because that's actually one of the things we missed a lot of marks with this game this is our first kind of full-length game. We've only created, or I've been a part of creating two shorter experiences before, and that's like 20 minutes a piece. And that was a challenge back then, but creating a game that in this case is 3 hours, so well, average 3 hours, so it's a lot shorter than other games, but it's been a huge challenge going from 20-minute games to a 3-hour games, and there was a lot of things that we had no idea what to do. And YouTube has actually been one of the greatest tools for me to get proper feedback because it's really hard. 'Cause let's say I would send the game to you, Justin, and you would play the game, and you would give me the feedback of the the experience in itself, all the things you can remember, but I can't actually see you playing, and you won't actually comment honestly on what you're seeing. And YouTube and Twitch have been something that it's a very good tool for me as a developer to actually being able to know what are the things that are good and what are the things that are bad. And there's actually a lot of people who have helped us with a lot of critique, so we can actually make a better game next time. And that's what I'm really hyped about. It's next time when I have all the information that I have now, that I wish I had like 15 months ago when we were still in school.
I would be terrified to try to do this show live. I've been told by like my brother, like, hey, Twitch is really popular. You should host your show on it. I can't imagine going on and then seeing like the chat log just going up and it mostly just be like emoticons the whole time because it just seems like that thing is just like a constant stream of just why is this happening? But the other bits of it would be like, this guy sounds stupid. I hate this guy. And it's like, oh no.
Well, it depends on. I know there's a lot of people that when we developed our first game, when I was part of a student group known as Creaky Stairs, we released the first horror game called Notes of Obsession, and I remember a lot of YouTubers, or well, it was actually YouTubers. I don't know. We didn't actually watch Twitch streams back then, and they didn't have a lot of followers. And now when we made this game, I saw that a lot of the people when we watched them play our last game with pretty much 30,000 subscribers, and now they have like 800,000 subscribers. It's just crazy. They've gotten so many subscribers, and I think that's because they actually make kind of, good content. And that's kind of like why we still watch their channels when they play our games, because we actually want to, we also want to laugh when somebody plays our game.
So when you guys were developing Unforgiving, were you at the start of it? Were you planning on creating a horror game, or were you like, let's try something different? And then as you were going through it, it was like, oh, looks like we're doing a horror game.
Actually, we started out creating a horror game on purpose. We created, as I said before, like the first horror game, Notes of Obsession, and that's where it kind of all started. That's where it all started falling into place. Is this something that I want to do? Because when I was a kid, I was a very strange child in many ways, and I had this weird fascination for things that scared me. And one of my dear friends, Gustav, came to me like about 2 years ago, and for our second year in college, there's a project, a student project, and he wanted to pitch an idea for that project. And I hesitated at first, but after that I was like, yeah, let's do that. I'm really glad you asked me. So we were 5 people, and we were like thinking, what do we want to do? And I asked, hey, does anybody want to make a horror game? Because I was so fascinated by horror and everything that's nasty. And everybody was like, yeah, let's make a horror game. And we pitched the game, and we got picked as one of the, like, I think there's like 10 groups divided on like 200 people, 150 people on school, and we made that game. And after that, I wanted to make more, so I actually asked Gustav, the guy who asked me to join the first group, do you want to make another one with me? And he said yes. And I collected 3 other members, 2 from the school project, and 1 additional member. So we were 4 people from that first project from school, and another one. So we were 5, and we developed like an early alpha just to try it out, like, because we had 17 people working on the first project, and that's a lot of manpower. And we wanted to, work. We wanted to like make the team a little bit smaller, because 17 people, you can just imagine how much it would cost, personnel costs for 17 people. That would be an insane amount of money, especially here in Sweden. So 5 people, can we actually make a horror game on 5 people? And we made like a 20-minute experience, an early alpha about 9 months ago. We released it, and it was actually, people liked it. So we decided, hey, we should try making the full thing, and that's where it all started. So making horror games is actually like that was the goal from the beginning. So it wasn't like, hey, it's horrible, this game. It's a horror game. Well, I wanted to make a beautiful character, but he's ugly, so now it's a horror game.
Because I know that's how I think that's Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, people said that his stuff looks scary, and he's like, all right, well, I'll just make a game that's actually scary. And now he's probably making billions of dollars. So I mean, it has happened before.
Well, that's a huge franchise, so there's something very, very right about that game.
You just got to make something that you can make plushies out of, even though, like, it's so weird how many kids love that. And I'm like, if I was a kid watching that, I would have been absolutely terrified.
Oh, me too. I am terrified of actually that idea. I actually own the game myself, together with like, I had like I think I have 200 games on Steam, and half of them are horror games. And Five Nights at Freddy's, the first one is one of them, and the idea of these kind of we don't have Chuck E. Cheese here in Sweden, but the idea of that kind of robot coming after you is actually terrifying.
If you had a Chuck E. Cheese in Sweden, what do you think it would look like?
Oh, it would be Lordy Odin or something like that. And it's like, yeah, it's just, Thor. And
That sounds awesome.
You would you would have to go in there and you had to sacrifice like a sheep or something to get like a burger or something.
You have to go. You have to make the burger yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. You would go in and kill a sheep. And that's actually the thing we have in the game. It's sacrifice, because that was a huge part of the pagans here in Sweden.
Ooh.
Back in the day. But yeah, maybe. Well, we do have I think we do have Starbucks now, and I think we're gonna get a Kentucky Fried Chicken. So we're very, very evolved here.
I wouldn't say that Kentucky Fried Chicken's evolved, but sure.
But it is delicious though. But I've only had it once in Japan, so that's all I know about it. But I think it's the same all over the world.
I've never been to Japan, so I have no idea. Here in America, everyone, at least that I know of, either finds it too salty or they love it. It's either you love it or you hate it kind of thing. So
I can respect that.
I will say that it's not the best chicken place you can go to. If you're ever in America, there's Raising Cane's is amazing, and Popeyes. That's it. If you're ever in America, those are the places. These, by the way, this episode's not promoted by either of those. And if you have an opinion on chicken tenders, you can leave that in the comments as well.
That is perfect. Well, I've heard about Popeyes. Actually, I've only been to America once for 2 or 3 weeks, and I went to Miami, of course, and Key West. That's what it's called. And it was just I did like Miami, but I'm not sure that it's not like, hey, I've been to the United States, I've been to Miami. I'm pretty sure that the rest of the United States looks pretty different.
Yeah. You should come to the Midwest sometime. It's only corn. That's it. That's all we're known for.
Well, I do love corn. Actually, I've actually grown up in the countryside, so I've seen my fair share of corn.
Where I'm from, we actually have a maize made entirely of corn, and
so it's a maize.
It's a corn maze. So it is. Well, I don't want to say where. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's called the Great Godfrey Corn Maze. If you're ever in Godfrey, Illinois, that's the one you want to go to. I think this year or something, they made it Harry Potter themed. I don't know, but it looks cool. You just can't see the design because you're in it. But
classic.
So I guess to wrap it all up here, what does Unforgiving mean to you as a game developer?
Well, that's a really good question. The first thing is that it's Angry Demon Studios' first commercial game. So that's our first trial. Is we have to try. You have to try a lot of things as a developer on your own. It's not like you can't just read a book telling you this is how you make a game. There are a lot of there's a lot of theory in developing a game. There's all the kind of curves, and there's storytelling, and you have to you have to follow a tension curve, and a lot of thought has to be put into it, and there's a lot of craftsmanship put into the actual game. So this is our first commercial game where we can try that. I have no idea. Let's see here. I have to gather my thoughts a little bit here. That was a really deep question because actually making good games is one of my main objectives. And just saying, oh, that's a good game, that's really hard. What is a good game? But creating a game that a lot of people can appreciate, something that takes you to a place that you didn't think you could go to. Pretty much summarizes it. Like you might actually be able to learn something about yourself if you want to go that deep. So I want to make like good games. With good I mean something that a lot of people can appreciate. I know you can't make a game for everyone. Everybody has different tastes. Everybody has different experiences. But just that's what I want to make. I want to make a horror game that's actually that people can consider good. And this was Angry Demon Studios' first attempt, and we will definitely try to make more of all of the knowledge that we've gathered from this game. So information-wise, this game is very important to us because it tells us so much about what we did well and what we did, not so well, pretty much. So that's why this game will always be very important to me as our first attempt on a commercial game.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you don't know
It's
until
actually
you try.
that's a difficult question. That's a very difficult question. It's like, what does it mean to you? I don't know, because at the same time as we've spent a lot of time developing it, we've all, you have to spend a lot of time looking at people playing it. You have to play test it. Our audio director, the guy who makes sound and music, during our Steam period, when it actually was, we had our Steam account ready for release, he actually he played the game 25 hours, I think now, or 26 hours. 26 hours he has recorded on the game, just play testing it, just to see that everything works. Because there's been a lot of bugs on the way, and in my experience, when you fix a bug, you create two more. So, with all the love and effort we put into the game, and all the, I think it's called adversity, all the challenges we've met on the path that actually that was very difficult to overcome. We made this game and we've just drudged through tens and tens of hours, just checking that everything works and seeing how people play it, so we can form an opinion. Was this game okay? Is there anything we have to change for the next game? What can we keep, and so on. So that's a very, very difficult question in this stage, when I think we released the game just a few weeks ago.
Well,
but it's been a fun ride.
I look forward to playing it. Unforgiving, a Northern Hymn. It's only going to be on Steam, right?
For now, it's just going to be on Steam. We've been thinking about what do you say? Putting it into we've been thinking about maybe developing it for console and so on. But the thing is that there's so much work that has to be put into the game. If in the game, the structure of the game, if we want to make it for console, and that could take months, and we would rather create a new game that's actually better than this one, than to spend months and months upon just making it for a console at the moment. We might release it on other storefronts. We've been thinking about, I'm not sure if I can. I don't think I'll name drop them right now, because if I say it's gonna be on this store and we can't deliver on it, I know people might get disappointed.
It's gonna be like, wait a minute, you said it was gonna be on here.
Yeah, so hey, you said it was going to be available on this storefront and it's not. What are you going to do about it? And we're like, hey, we're sorry. Because I don't know if I mentioned it, but we're only 5 people. We're a very, very small studio. And a lot of just, if I have an example. If we wanted to have like, you know, a thing you usually just take for granted in a game, and it's like, if you know, rebindable keys. It's like, hey, I don't want to jump on spacebar. I want to jump on control or anything. That would take a programmer like 2 weeks just to make that system, apparently. And 2 weeks of programming time. That's a lot of gameplay. So when you're such a small studio, you have to plan very carefully where you put the hours. So it's just, for now, it's just available on Steam, though.
If anyone out there switches their spacebar to control to jump, you're a heathen. And
well, actually, that's something we really wanted to incorporate, though. We wanted to incorporate it, but we did not have time because there's a lot of players with. I've worked with a lot of people. If you miss like a pinky finger, for example, you do not want to crouch on control. And we really understand the issue of like, I can't do this or I can't do that, and rebindable controls is really good for people. I met a kid a while back. That was actually really cool to see. That opened up my mind. It's when I saw a kid and he loved to play Xbox, but he only had one arm. And he would put the controller on. He would stand up and he put the controller on his knee and played with one hand. And that's, you know, it's really cool to see people adapt. And we really wanted the rebindable controls, but as I said before, the time is just, we don't have it.
Well, I'm sure the game is going to be awesome. When's it coming out for Steam?
Actually, it's already released.
Oh, well, I have been
surprise.
It's out. Everyone, go buy it quick.
Right now.
I didn't see that.
Surprise. We actually released it like, I think 2 weeks ago, pretty much.
Just in time for the holidays. Gift it to everyone, because that's what you do on Steam. You gift people things. All right, so John, thank you so much for coming onto the show. If you guys want to know more about Unforgiving and Northern Hymn, just check it out on Steam. How much is the game?
Right now, it's $14.99.
It's $14.99. No. It costs the same as buying a family-sized meal at KFC. This is not sponsored by KFC, but
again,
unless, hey, KFC, hit me up. I'm just saying, you know.
Me too.
Hit us both up. There's gonna be weird KFC commercials in the game.
Oh, I hope they make like a Swedish folklore KFC commercial. That would be amazing.
Ooh. So basically, Colonel Sanders is like Thor, and he's not holding a battle axe. He's actually just a drumstick. Or
he could be a giant. Or a naked woman with a hole in her back could be holding up KFC. Actually, we have a naked woman, but we also have naked men. So it's fun for the whole family.
Yay, nakedness. All right, guys, go check out the game. It's full of naked people, and it's scary, and it's got Abba in it and battle axes. So brace yourself. It's going to be quite an experience. People are going to be like, what the hell am I about to play? Everything we've been telling them, it's like, oh, yeah, no, it's going to be in there. And then they're going to boot it up. It's like, wait a minute, you fucking lied to me. What did you do?
There's no battle axes and KFC in this game.
There's nothing in here. It's scary, but it's just, I was lied to. It's going to be in the reviews, too. They lied to me.
Honestly, there is nudity, there is violence, there is blood, and there is gore. So that's... that's something. Battle axes and KFC, not so much.
Not yet. Waiting for those mods.
Yet. Next game.
Well, guys, go check it out. It's going to be an experience, to say the least. John, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. And you guys, if you want to find out anything more about Angry Demon Studio, you can actually find them on Twitter, Facebook, and their website as well. So go do that. There's some cool dudes and a chick. There is a girl in the development studio as well.
Oh dear.
If you look at the if you look at their picture, tell me that they don't look like either a folk band or a metal band. So
Viking metal.
Viking metal, there we go. It's like a monomarth. I mean, like. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, check out the other episodes. They're cool as well. I actually have a full playlist now where you can listen to everything. It's on YouTube and SoundCloud as well, so you can find it on there. And it's available pretty much anywhere that you can listen to a podcast except for Spotify, because that is an elitist group that I am not a part of, and they don't like me there. So thank you guys so much for listening. Go buy the game, and hopefully we'll have a new episode here in a few weeks or so. And goodbye.